Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar titled Get Ahead of the Curve with Windows 11 Insight and Our Partners. Before we begin, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your audience console are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit your questions in the Q&A box, and they'll be answered at the end of the presentation. You can also expand the slide area by clicking on the Maximize icon on the top right of the slide viewer. If you have any technical difficulties, please click on the Help widget. And if you can take a moment to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar, that'd be great. I'll now hand this over to Ian. Enjoy the webinar.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of a three-part series for Windows 11. We'll be talking about security and compliance today, and we'll be talking a little bit more about some of the Insight partnerships and kind of how we all work together. So my name is Ian Platenik, and I'll be your host over the next few weeks talking about Windows 11 with my friend Mitch Doctor, who I'll introduce here shortly. I'm a category manager with Insight, and I work closely with our OEM partners to help understand different industry trends and then kind of help our company strategize for them. In previous roles, I helped handle some of our device lifecycle services, and I was a sales rep for the Commercial West organization at my beginning of tenure here. Now, I'd like to sort of introduce Mitch Doctor. Mitch is a 10-year Microsoft veteran. He's held several roles with Microsoft, and he is the commercial master trainer for Microsoft, and we are very excited to have him here with us today. He has a very good voice of the customer, and he's very passionate about learning and teaching anything Microsoft related. So without further ado, please let me welcome Mitch Doctor.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you all for having me. It's great to be with you all. As Ian said, I'm Mitch Doctor. I am the U.S. Commercial Master Trainer for Microsoft. So anything Windows, Office, M365, and anything else related that you could think of, that all falls on me. So I know we have some slides up right now in that widget, but why don't you change over to the live video widget if you're not already, because all my content will come right here within these, I guess, four walls that I'm living in right now. So I just want to make sure we'll give everybody a second to do that. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. So like I said, my name is Mitch, and today we're going to be digging a little bit into Windows 11 security as the first episode of this ongoing series over the next couple weeks, as Ian said. So without any further ado, let's just jump on in. And I think the first place we need to understand is what the world looks like today with hybrid work and the hybrid workplace, and then what kind of security challenges are also being faced by organizations, users all over the place when it comes to a PC. But first, I think I need to set a little context, and I'll have us all be at the same understanding that, well, hybrid work isn't going anywhere, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's truly an evolving market, and it is a market that continues to evolve day in and day out, whether we're in the offices 3 days a week or 2 days a week or never, and we sit in our home office all day. That's what hybrid work is. And we went out in last year's work trend reports in 2021 and asked managers what they see and what are they going to see and what do they feel that they're going to see. And, well, they expect flexible remote work options to go absolutely nowhere, and that this actual trend is no longer going to be a trend, but truly is our new reality that we live in every day. And then we went and we looked at the employees and asked the employees, hey, what do you want with flexible remote work options? And they're like, well, I want them. Well, that's great that managers and employees almost see eye to eye here, right? You'll notice that 70 to 80% difference. And then we asked those same employees like, hey, what else are you looking for? And they're like, well, I want more in-person collaboration. Wait, what? You don't want to be in the office, but you want to work together. So we need devices to better help us enable collaboration, literally no matter where those endpoints exist. And that is key to the security, and why security is so important in our new hybrid workplace world is because collaboration and those devices existing, whether it's across town, across the country, across state lines, or across the world, we need to make sure every device is secure. But let's look at what, the hybrid work environment truly does look like. Number one, well, we did a whole simulation and a phishing simulation, and this is pretty shocking, and I hope it upsets you as much as it hurts me. 25% of employees that were in this simulation, so 1 out of 4 of us, clicked on a phishing simulation. Clicked, yeah, like that's a real website, I'm going to go there. Great. Super. So 1 out of 4. And then 70% of those employees also gave away a password to that phishing simulation. That's craziness. Think of how many people right now in the room here. We have well over 350 people. Imagine if 1/4 of us clicked on a phishing link and then 70% of us gave away. We're still talking 50, passwords getting out or something like that. So kind of crazy. And when we could think in 2019 alone, because we just don't have more recent statistics because it's been a little out of control, but there were 1 billion URL set up to do nothing but phish credentials. So this is what we're up against in a hybrid work world. And then it's really important. I want to bring it up because some of us, and I know I do as well, work with some SMBs and SMB sellers. Well, SMBs are not, have that chain mail on. They're just as vulnerable as the big boys. And you'll notice that 1/3 of all cyber attacks in the last year to year and a half, as of 2020 or so, was a small business. Now, here's the shocking stuff. When we think of a small business and what it takes to, say, mitigate a cyber threat and being attacked, we can talk anywhere from $150,000 to $3, $4, $5 million to be able to mitigate even any type of cyber threat, even in a small business aspect. Now, out of those 1/3 of small businesses being attacked by a cyber threat, over 60% of those small businesses not only experienced a cyber attack, but were also literally shut down and unable to operate. So think that a small business has to spend the money and to mitigate the risk, and not only spend the money to mitigate the risk, but then they're not able to operate and make more money to even recoup what that loss might be. And then the most shocking, and again, more upsetting, this goes back to the slide we were just thinking about, is of all the breaches in 2022, all the breaches, 82% of them have involved the human element, meaning you and me and people giving away passwords. So security is set off in Windows to do a couple different things. And in Windows 11 specifically, it is our very first zero trust ready operating system. So zero trust, it really falls into 3 categories, and there's 3 principles to it that makes it. 1, it's about verifying explicitly. What do I mean by this? This principle means that authentication and authorizing is all based on multiple data points. So whether that's the individual's identity or their location or the device health or services and workloads and data and classifications and different anomalies and all this, it means that we're always going to explicitly verify who is accessing what data and who has access to what, no matter where they're logging in from. So whether that's a weird IP address that's never been used or a user on a device they've never used before, verification is always going to be necessary. And actually, it'll go all the way goes down to even if a user is using the same device on the same IP in the same place, but they open up a different web browser, for instance, say they're not using Edge and they go, open something random like Firefox. That's going to ask for verification as well. So we can get down to pretty nitty gritty. Then the idea of least privilege access. And let me try and explain this as best as I can. If you are a frontline worker and there is a CEO in your company, and say you're trying to access information within the company's intranet or pool of information, maybe it's all on Azure or OneDrive or wherever that might be. Now, here's the thing. A frontline worker will have multiple identities, right, to their specific work cases, and then maybe that they're an employee of the whole company. Great. So there is a shared site, for instance. Maybe it's the company's landing page right internally. So the frontline worker will use their bottom privilege that they're an employee. And when the CEO accesses it, it's not using the CEO's, 5 or 6 tier security clearances to access something so basic. It's using that same bottom tier. So the idea is if something is on a specific tier and there's people of way differentiating on, say, their security policies and tiers and what they can access, we're always using that bottom level so that nothing can be compromised above it. And then I think this goes without saying. Just assume there's always a breach in progress anyway, right? The idea of being able to operate in a manner of that there is always a breach, or a breach is always imminent, or we're just out of a breach. This idea of end-to-end encryption and making sure we're using analytics to keep everything visible and driving threat detection only ends up improving our defenses in the long run. And what is really great about this in Windows 11 is that it's just there. It's all built in from the chip to the cloud. So I'll explain this whole chip to the cloud idea here a little bit more, because it gives us a really good foundation as we're going to go further into our conversations over the next couple weeks. But the biggest thing is customers need modern security solutions in our hybrid work world. We need to be able to deliver those end-to-end no matter where that endpoint exists, because endpoints now exist everywhere. Endpoints don't just exist, us all sitting in an office anymore, or in a single building behind, 30,000 layers of security and networks and routing and all that stuff, right? That doesn't exist anymore, because we're all outside and we're using our home Wi-Fi, or God forbid someone's using public Wi-Fi. But the idea is that we exist everywhere. So having zero trust principles in this new era of hybrid work is going to keep every identity, user, and device and information of those organizations safe, no matter where they're being accessed from. So here are some of the key solutions. One, this chip to cloud security, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, but it's truly helping a customer to make sure that their device is meeting all the user requirements that are necessary in that organization. Also, security works out of the box, period. Out of the box, you can open up any brand new Windows 11 device and connect it to Microsoft Cloud services like Azure, OneDrive, and the Microsoft Office suite of programs, aka M365, and they just work by being able to log in. It's also super easy to customize to meet specific requirements. And what do I mean by this? Windows 11 allows customization from IT through cloud and Azure Active Directory and a whole bunch of other solutions we'll talk about a little bit today, but mostly into the next couple of weeks. But it's really about requiring access and privacy and security requirements, or IT can even do something like, hey, everybody needs to use two-factor authentication to make sure that their individual organizations and every user stays safe and protected. And even better, Windows 11 and its entire infrastructure, security and apps and everything, all work even into an existing structure already in an existing infrastructure. So much so that Windows 11 and Windows 10 devices can be deployed and managed simultaneously within the same organization. So let's talk a little bit about this chip to cloud. And we're going to start by just talking about security being on by default. You open a Windows machine and things just work. This means that hardware and software and security are all working together kind of in this really nice cohesive, I want to say mesh is the word I think I'm looking for, of what makes a Windows 11 computer what it is. And that goes all the way from the hardware, and we'll talk about how some of the most recent hardware is now functioning in conjunction with Windows 11 here in just a minute. We can also look at how the actual operating system works by being able to work against unauthorized access to critical data. We can also deliver really robust application security, meaning that our security can actually be applied to individual applications running on Windows, not even just the device itself. We'll definitely talk about user identity protection and how Windows 11 truly is ushering in an age of passwordlessness security. There you go, right? And the idea of never worrying about losing a password again, or, really combating against all those phishing issues that we talked about. And then that security goes up to the cloud, and it's pretty incredible. So let's talk a little bit about that hardware security. And this goes above and beyond anything we can think about. One of Windows 11's mandatory needs of having a new device and using Windows 11 as an operating system is having a TPM 2.0 chip. And TPM 2.0 is a separate chip on some devices that allows us to use encryption like BitLocker or Windows Hello, which is our biometric login for Windows 11. But it also lets us use other things like a virtualized based security platform for BIOS and firmware and those type of things to also kind of let up and come in, as well as protecting the code integrity within the actual firmware itself. So using Secure Boot and these boot sectors, everything is just secure from the get-go. And then we've actually made even more progress with this. With other partners, we have now introduced Pluton hardware. So these are processors that no longer have a TPM 2.0 chip, meaning it's separate. So we're talking physically on the processor die itself. So usually it would have been a processor and then a TPM chip. And I'll show this here visually in just a sec. But with the addition of Pluton, which is actually a technology that came out of Microsoft Xbox of all places in the gaming scene, this technology is what allowed Xbox and Microsoft and our hardware partners within the Xbox to make sure that you couldn't say crack an Xbox, right? Or colloquially, we refer to it as jailbreaking a device, right? So the idea of decision makers being able to have a Pluton on the chip itself means that there is just less surface area, and it's reducing that attack surface area of, say, where the bus interface comes in. So this is even another step forward in security by being able to integrate this security chip aspect. So this is everything from your BitLocker encryption to Windows Hello, biometric encryption, and everything else in between now being on the actual die, meaning that the hardware is that much more powerful and safer as well. And these can only be used, the Pluton processor only works right now with Windows 11 operating systems. All right. So let's go one step further. I know there are a lot of questions, and that's awesome. We will have a couple minutes to answer questions here. I do see them coming in. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. So let's get through this, and then we'll definitely cover some questions. So operating system. Well, what does the operating system have? Well, we already talked about BitLocker encryption and Windows information encryption, but Windows Defender is built in, guys, right? All over the place. Windows Defender is built into the OS, and it's also completely on. The Windows security goes all the way down into the OS. There's no add-ons and downloads or anything. It is actually part of the operating system. It is so powerful in such that I personally don't use any other internet security or antivirus on my machine other than Windows Defender. But if you wanted to, of course you can. Those choices are still out there. But it is really delivering intelligent protection against viruses and other threats, because with it always being online and always connected, Microsoft is able to track threats worldwide and across the internet and be as proactive as possible, being able to protect Windows 11 at its guts, essentially, from wherever it is, even if attack happened halfway around the world on some random network. And the other idea is that all the credentials and code security and the network and everything is all already safeguarded as soon as that device is turned on, rather than saying IT has to go in and turn on DNS and TLS protocols and back and forth, and being able to worry about, oh, are the firewalls working? Are they not working? Are my apps going to work with the fire? Everything's just there, and it is truly as seamless as possible. But IT, of course, can make further security decisions and send down security protocols and updates to their fleet of devices if they so chose. We'll talk just a little bit about application security here, and I think the biggest thing here is we can run websites and Office files safely, meaning that if you get something from a source you're not quite sure about, it is actually as easy as, if you don't want to open it on, say, the piece of hardware, right, on the device and not in the Office program that might be connected to, say, an internal Office connection through OneDrive or Azure or however that might work, it can actually open an unknown file within a website window, which is then also in a virtualized based bubble, using those security protocols a little bit more. So imagine this. Imagine you get an email and it has an attachment, and maybe it looks like it was your boss's email, and you touch the attachment, you go to open in Microsoft Office and say it's a Word file, and you go to open it and you double click it. You get a pop-up that goes, hey, you know, this file looks odd compared to what else you've opened. Would you like to open this? on the web page, right, on the web version of Word to view. So right away, you should go, maybe I shouldn't be opening this. Let me double check if this was a phishing email or something weird anyway. But you could go ahead and choose, yeah, I still want to see what it is, but I want to be safe and I want to be cautious. So this would open this in a virtualized version of, say, Microsoft Edge, for instance. You'd be able to read that Word document, but even if there is something attached to it or something unrecognizable, it still couldn't actually affect Windows 11, the OS itself, because that application or file is therefore virtually protected. So kind of pretty interesting stuff. So here's the big piece, and this is definitely my favorite piece by far. We are on the home stretch before we go ahead and answer some questions. Just hang in there with me for maybe 3 more minutes, and then I will get to questions. Let's talk about identity and privacy. Number one, to improve security and sign in all the way around, we are looking at a completely passwordless future, meaning get rid of passwords altogether. With everything from multi-factor authentication being enabled through the Microsoft Authenticator app or third-party app, using Windows Hello for biometrics and security keys and verification codes and being able to use key fobs or anything else for that matter, it is only going to be able to secure our individual selves, say you and I, that much better. And you're going to go, but who am I, right? When we talk about solutions like Microsoft 365 and you have an email address, myname@business.com, right? That is your identity. That is your user identity. And that's how we can keep the privacy as well as security policies to individuals. And not just individuals, but individual devices. And not just a single device. That would even include, say, personal devices accessing company email, like our cell phones that pretty much never leave our sides, right? This also allows us to have something called single sign-on. Single sign-on, once we are on a verified device, if we have things like Windows Hello for Business and we're using biometrics like I do on my device, I can log into my whole device with my face and I look into my, my camera and it unlocks my entire computer and I now have access to all my corporate materials and everything else for that matter, no matter what, with a single sign-on because I've already verified that device as well as the browsers and everything else that I'm using. Now, you're going to ask, biometric data, though, how is that going to be protected? Doesn't that hit the cloud right on my face and my fingerprints all over the place? And the best thing is, it's not, and it never will be, ever. That type of information is encrypted on the, as you probably guessed, as I'm being totally rhetorical here, it's saved on that TPM 2.0 or within that Pluton half of the processor. All of those things are on the new hardware. So that's why if you've ever gotten a new piece of hardware with Windows 10 or 11 and you use biometrics, whether it's Windows Hello and using fingerprints or the video camera, that's why you have to set that up on every individual device. So let's just dig a little bit deeper here. And and look at what that looks like. I apologize, guys. I have no idea why I just skipped around there. There we go. So we can use a really user-friendly and being able to do privacy protection and go password-free. Because if you're password-free completely, there's nothing to phish. Honestly, to this date, and I can't even tell you the last time I reset my corporate credentials. I don't remember. And even if you ask me to know what my password is, I have no idea. I really don't. Why? Because two-factor authentication and single sign-on lets us do that. Now, can companies still require you to change your actual password every 90 days or 180 days? Sure, of course they could. And that just means that after that password's, say, redone, you would just go back into your two-factor authentication, re-verify, and that device will be ready to go for the future. And something really cool about this is that this enterprise-grade security of multi-factor authentication and key authorization and all that even works on our consumer versions of Windows 11 as well. So it's pretty incredible that across the board, we're truly protecting every single user, whether it's a business user or consumer user, or mom, dad, me, you. We're really protecting everybody's individualism and their privacy of their accounts and their information. And this also is able to extend, like I said, all the way out to other devices and using USB or USB biometrics and cameras or our phones for 2FA. It's all there. And lastly, got to talk about the cloud, right? Because the cloud allows us to deploy these devices and protect files, whether they're in OneDrive or we're looking for being able to set access per individual. All this can be done through Microsoft Azure Active Directory and using things like mobile device management tools like Microsoft's Intune. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how management and deployment of all of these things work and how IT can really take advantage of a single place and platform and essentially a web-based console to be able to manage your entire environments, I'm just going to ask you to join us later and join me on episode 2 and 3 coming to you all soon. With that, I do want to thank you, and I'm going to take 5 or 6 minutes before passing it back to Ian to look at a couple questions. So let's see what those look like. I'm going to just start on the top. Biometrics, but not a pin. So Justice asks, why can't I enforce my organization and use biometrics, but not a PIN? Windows Hello only works with a PIN. I'm asking if we can remove that requirement while using other features of Windows Hello. And the quick answer is no. So they are in tandem with each other. So Windows Hello specifically works with a PIN first. So a PIN is always going to be mandatory because that is essentially the encrypted base or foundation that all other Windows Hello features work off of. So you do have to make a PIN. And once that PIN is made, then you are able to use Windows Hello. Can we get slide? I'll answer that later. I'm just trying to see what else we got here, folks. Give me 1 sec as I scroll through these. Great question, Brody. What if someone uses a picture of your face to log in? Well, it's not possible. So using Windows Hello for Business and specific cameras, these cameras need to be usually over 720p, and they're actually using multiple lenses. It's not just a regular computer lens. It's also using infrared and other methods within a camera that is able to support this. So you have to be a living, breathing, warm person, as well as you have to have dimension to your face for those biometrics to work at all when it comes to your face. So really, really interesting stuff. And that's why you do have to look for, if say like you're using a desktop or a workstation and you want to be able to use Windows Hello camera or fingerprint reader, for instance, you need to make sure that it is certified for Windows Hello. And they are absolutely out there. I literally have one right in front of me. We repurpose devices. So how does the TPM chip work for device reassignments? Sheila, that is a great question. Devices are completely wiped and provisioned, right? So the TPM is working in conjunction with Windows itself. So if you re-provision and redeploy a Windows 11 device, the TPM is going to refresh and kind of republish itself with that new OS and the new image. Wonderful question. I'm going to just take 2 or 3 more, and then I will type any other answers so we do not go over. Does not want to be on at all times, only connected for requirement. Okay, so will Windows 11 work without the internet? Great question. The quick answer is sure for little things, but to get the full use out of Windows 11 and all of its security features and making sure that it is obviously up to date, Windows 11 does really need to be online to make sure that it does keep working smoothly. So another wonderful question about Pluton processors. Is Pluton just a TPM within the CPU, or is there a difference with what Pluton can do? And my quick answer is stay tuned for more. Right now, Pluton is being used essentially as an internalized TPM, but there's definitely more to it that can be used and is being researched to use in the future more than TPM. But right now, if you just have a TPM-enabled device, it is just essentially doing the same thing a TPM 2.0 chip does right now, presently. That's not to say that it can't do more in the future. And Miguel also asked, and this is the last question, what kind of verification does Windows 11 users sign in? I think I answered this as part of the presentation, right? Everything from 2FA to biometrics, external key fobs if you want, right? And you can add all those things, even if from second party, they can all work with Windows 11 to be able to verify. With that, I'll keep looking on Q&A and try and answer in chat as well. But with that, I am going to pass it back over to Ian, who can talk a little bit more about what Insight has for you guys. And for him,
all right, Mitch, how about that?
As well. Off to you, Ian.
Mitch, I love your energy, and you are just such a fantastic presenter. So I really appreciate that. So everybody, what I'd like to do now is kind of take you into Insight a little bit, talk about some of our partnerships, not only with our OEM partners, but also with Microsoft. Since we are able to put on these webinars, we will have many more to come. We have our second one coming up in January, where we'll be focusing on manageability and deployment, and then another one in February covering productivity and collaboration. So this is all around security and our partnerships. So without further ado, let me jump in. So Insight has a long legacy. We've been a solutions integrator, and we've been a partner of IT for over 30 years. We have over 12,000 employees across 19 countries, and almost half of those resources are technically savvy. We have architects, we have designers, we have developers, we have engineers that are able to go on site, really help with any type of client technology need. Now, on top of that, we also have a very good timeline when it comes to staying ahead of the curve when it comes to strategic acquisitions and bringing in customers and clients that can really assist our portfolio. And you can see that we have a trusted client base with over $9.2 billion of sales. So as we continue to grow and as we continue to develop, we're always looking at the foresight of technology so we can really be that front runner when it comes to some of these digital innovation and cloud journeys. So I'll jump into the next slide here. And this is going to be a live webinar poll. So if you guys are interested in answering them, we would really appreciate your feedback. This is something that we are communicating with our partners, really to get an idea of Windows 11 and some of the benefits around them when it comes to the OEMs that companies are considering. So I'll just flash this up for a little bit, have you guys answer that, and then we'll jump on to the next one here. All right, thank you all. So in my previous role with Insight, I helped cover the services around some of our device lifecycle services. This is everything from the pre-sales to the warehousing and to the end of life with the ITAD services for recycling, repurposing, and remarketing. So Insight is very well positioned to handle all of these different types of initiatives and across OEMs, across OSs, what have you. Now, something that I really find fascinating about Insight is our integration labs, as well as our multiple warehouses around the United States. We have one in particular in Illinois at Hanover Park, in a location out there. It's over 490,000 square feet, where we have different shelves set up in different areas of that set up for different inventory programs. So as you are planning rollouts, as you are looking for a partner to really help with that full life cycle and supply chain of the devices, Insight is really well positioned to be able to do that. And I was fortunate enough to go out and visit there, and I'll let you know, it's a very, very, very large, clean place. I think I walked close to 30,000 steps. Was not expecting that, but I think it was good for the heart. So another question here, just which manufacturers are you interested in? Are you standardized? Do you have a multi-vendor environment? Are you looking at various companies that maybe offer a different OS solution? These are all things that we would like to know so that we're able to reach back out with important material that is going to really resonate with you guys and make sure that we're aligning that way. Alrighty, moving on. This is where I'd like to talk a little bit about the Microsoft relationship with Insight. Now, Insight has been around for 30 years. We've been selling Microsoft solutions for over 25 years, and we're actually within the top 1% of all Microsoft partners. It really puts Insight in a good position because of the ways in which we support our clients when it comes to Microsoft. So I really like showing this slide to all of our customers and to all of our partners when we are talking and discussing about Microsoft. Like I mentioned, we are in the top 1%. We are Microsoft's largest global reseller when it comes to licensing. When it comes to Microsoft services, we have over 2,000 services around Microsoft. And in the last year alone, we did over 4,000 projects, over an exabyte of data, and over 2 million workloads migrated. I'm sorry, Mitch, or are you guys able to see my screen here?
Yep, I'm seeing the PowerPoint right now.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I was getting some pings and I was a little nervous, so I appreciate that. So moving on, we did over an exabyte of data. That is just fascinating and super massive. And we did over 2 million workload migrations. Now, one of the cool things that I also like to see about sort of the industry and some of these research companies that talk about Insight and Microsoft and other national service providers and other resellers is we're recognized by Gartner, Forrester, and Fortune. And we also receive awards from our various OEM partners, which I'll dive a little bit deeper into that. But overall, over 9,000 clients with Insight purchasing Microsoft. That's over 4 million seats under some sort of CSP or any sort of agreement with Microsoft. I wanted to highlight some of the awards just to kind of show our track record with Microsoft over the last 3 years. I actually had to consolidate these because it wouldn't all fit on the screen if I did a full 3-year look at. However, because this topic is security, I did want to point out in 2022, we received the Microsoft Security Excellence Award. In 2020, we received the Security Partner of the Year Award. Now, when you look at some of these other awards that Insight has created, you can kind of see how our solutions and our Microsoft business really expands into different areas, including a 365 and Surface Solution Selling Partner of the Year, as well as a Customer Experience Partner of the Year and US Partner of the Year in 2020. So really, really good information when it comes to looking at an Insight relationship with Microsoft. When you are considering looking at these newer devices, really think about how we can support everything that the device will support. Now, I did want to highlight these. These are competencies. You might be familiar with them when it comes to the Microsoft Partner Network. So Insight was able to achieve all of the gold certifications when it came to these. So you can kind of see how they're broken up. It's applications, it's cloud, it's the actual data platform and infrastructure. So it's really important to kind of see how Insight is positioned again when it comes to the different services that we support. However, these competencies are now changing and they're pivoting into a new partner model, which looks something like this. So there are now what we're calling designations with Microsoft, and these are where our expertise falls within these different solution sets for Microsoft. And Insight is only one of 2 partners that has received designations and badges in all of these areas. So again, out of all of the Microsoft partners, Insight is only one of 2 that has 100% filled these out with the top performance necessary to receive a badge and to make sure that we are able to support in these various area sets. These are additional specializations. You might see server migrations. You might see things like the virtual desktop interface. I think we had a question here about VDI in Windows 11. So we'll go back and we'll take a look at some of those and try to get you guys some answers following this. But I did just want to flash this a little bit so you can kind of read through it a little bit more and get really familiar with how Insight really supports our clients here when it comes to Microsoft. Now, here's one more polling question that you guys can answer. We broke this up into personas, and then we've communicated with our OEM partners to align devices to each one of these personas. So we'll have demos that we can send to clients if they are looking to test out Windows 11 within their existing standardizations and their product families, or if they're considering different OEMs, or if they would like to test multiple OEMs together. So this is going to kind of help us position that a little bit more with our sales reps. So when it does come time to reaching out about testing product, they already can sort of let you know, hey, I saw you filled this out. We have X amount available. Please let me know how you'd like to proceed. Alrighty, thank you for filling that out for those of you that were able to. And now I'd like to jump a little bit into our partnerships with our OEMs. I'm talking Surface, Lenovo, HP, Dell. Now, without spending too much time on them, because they are so large within our company, spreading multiple lines of business and multiple verticals, really what I wanted to do is show you the level of support that we receive from these partnerships and why it's special to Insight when it comes to having a partner that really understands the products. So when it comes to Surface, you'll see that we have had a similar track record of awards and the ways in which we help the client, including PC Partner of the Year, including Hub Partner of the Year, as well as US Partner of the Year. Going down from 2019 to 2022, Insight continually sells the most Surface in the channel. We are experience real nice growth rates with that. And I think it just goes to show the Microsoft platform and the product and the Windows 11 and everything Microsoft is able to offer. Clients sometimes are gravitating towards that and really liking that cohesivity between things. However, when it comes to supporting the device, we have over 16 dedicated hardware specialists, and we have 4 different pricing models for any type of level of discounting. For opportunity sizes, for specific companies, we have the means for helping with any type of opportunity here. And Microsoft Surface is really a force to be reckoned with here within the OEM sets with Insight. And we're very happy to have some of these awards with them. Now, moving on, I'll talk about Dell. And you'll notice that some of the awards and recognitions that we've received from Dell, some of these go into different areas of business, right? We might be talking data center. We see Server Partner of the Year. We see Transformational Partner of the Year. However, the whole relationship with Dell not only encompasses those other lines of business, but from the device standpoint itself, we have over 70 dedicated Dell specialists who are able to help with configurations, talk about different technologies. If you are a Dell customer and you would like to learn more about that specific product when it relates to Windows 11, then let's schedule a call. We can talk to them. They have all their information on their specific product lines. And a really great partner of ours, and we're really happy to have them included in this Windows 11 presentation here today. I did want to highlight our partnership level, and you'll see this kind of consistently across the board. We are a Titanium Black partner. We do have over 340 certifications, as well as 5,000 existing clients with Insight purchasing Dell through us. So we are trusted, and we are a good vendor when it comes to Dell. And lastly, I'd like to talk about, or I'm sorry, not lastly, but second to last, talk about Lenovo. Lenovo, over 30 dedicated resources. Again, these span across different verticals. It could be technical pre-sales, it could be our relationships with our channel account managers and bringing in product. For instance, we do a lot of buy-ins with these partners where if we see a good opportunity for product, we will buy it, keep it in our warehouse, and that'll be exclusive stock for Insight customers. So that is something that we do a lot with Lenovo. We're also able to source directly from Lenovo, as well as being Lenovo's preferred solution partner. Lenovo likes the way Insight goes to market and kind of structures our go-to-market strategy. And so they've communicated to us, hey, this is the preferred model. We really like this. And that really helps us align with them as a partner. Moving on to HP, again, you'll see those awards and recognitions kind of span across different lines of business. We were the HP Printing Partner of the Year in 2020, and in 2019, we were the HP Personal Systems Partner of the Year. So really long track record. We've been a partner with HP for over 20 years now. We have over 15 funded resources, and what I mean that they are only dedicated to the HP Insight business. So they're not agnostic resources that cover a little bit of everything, but they are actually on site with Insight, actually set all behind there. And that really helps us attain these partnership levels, as well as have that level of support that customers are looking for across their product families. So with that being said, I did really want to thank everybody for joining us today. There's one more question here, just gauging the room, if there is interest in other OSs when it comes to the devices. We know multi-vendor environments exist. We are privy to it. So this is another opportunity for you guys to let Insight know how we might be able to assist, or if there is information outside of that we can help with.
There is one question in the Q&A for you, sir, while they answer that. You want me to read off for you?
Sure.
It asks if Insight offers any Microsoft training or certification programs through its partnership.
We can. In fact, not only are we able to support with different training requests, we can do something like a scope of work where we're actually sitting down with your teammates and doing the trainings on your behalf. But we also work with a lot of different third parties that are able to actually sell these training and sell these certificates through Insight as a reseller. So talk to an account manager about that. There's a ton of opportunities. And if you talk to one of our business development managers with Microsoft, they can also sort of shed some light on that. But really good question. Yeah, definitely a good resource for training, certifications, things like that. We'll be able to guide you in the right direction there. Alrighty. Well, everybody, we really appreciate the time. We don't want to go over. We want to make sure that we are respectful. But again, this is the first episode of a three-part series around Windows 11. This first topic covered security and compliance and talked a little bit about our partnerships. The next webinar, we'll talk about manageability and deployment. We'll jump into Intune, we'll jump into Autopilot, how Insight supports that from an integration lab perspective. And then lastly, we'll focus in February on productivity and collaboration, where we will really dive into the benefits of the products, as well as what some of the OEMs are doing within their new devices. But with that being said, we are very happy that you were able to join this first session, and we hope to see you again in just a few weeks. Thank you very much.